This is the GS Ball, introduced early on in the Orange Islands. The contents of this gold and silver Pokeball was set up as a big mystery in the Pokemon anime. Many mumblings about what this ball could contain were prevalent throughout Season 2, as Ash was given this ball by Professor Ivy to give to Professor Oak for research, and he does in the Season 2 finale, only for Oak to come up empty and tell him to deliver it to someone else, a Pokeball expert named Kurt, located in Azalea Town. And he does, and never sees it again. This drop arc always fascinated me. They got pretty far in before deciding to just abort mission and make the planned Pokemon in the ball, Celebi, the star of the 4th movie, as mentioned in this interview. They also stated that they hoped the viewers would eventually forget about it, which is very laughable in today's media culture. But for me, this dropped arc always felt like it tied into why the Johto arc isn't too highly regarded among fans. People criticize the heavy amount of filler, the frequent 20-ish episode gaps between gyms with not too much to compensate for that length, and for me, how autopilot a lot of these episodes feel. Upon rewatching them, it felt like there was less passion in the writer's room crafting a lot of these episodes, especially compared to the previous 2 seasons. And I feel like this problem really became noticeable after Azalea, when Ash and Co. left the GS Ball behind. This got me thinking, what if the writers went through with this arc? How different would the show be? Would this gen's problems be fixed? We're gonna be doing a bit of rewriting here to answer this question. Now, one rule. Anything rewritten has to be something that could reasonably happen in the show. No shipping. Try to keep everyone in character, and also no changing the league results. Because honestly, I don't think much would change there. This goes without saying, but anything changed has to be directly affected by Celebi being there. Let's see where the Celebi effect takes us, and let's roll! To start off, we need to figure out when the GS Ball would have been opened. And the answer to that is pretty simple. The GS Ball is also in the games. It's an event item, mostly only distributed in Japan. You use it to summon Celebi at the shrine in the Ilex Forest, located outside of Azalea. So basically, literally right after Ash and Co. leave Azalea. Yeah, it always felt like the decision to put Celebi in a movie was made last minute since they were setting up potential plot threads 2 episodes prior to getting there.
I have no idea who designed this thing, but it's protected by a very powerful lock.
Clearly the way to break the lock was the shrine in the Ilex Forest, so the scenario starts here. After Ash battles Bugsy and getting the bugs out, he and the others get their Apricorn Pokeballs and head into the Ilex Forest, remembering what Kurt said about the lock. The big change being that Maisie gives Ash the GS Ball and maybe drops some tea about Kurt mentioning a potential lead in the forest. Now, there is an actual episode located in the Ilex Forest, a far-fetched tale. It's just your typical Ash stops Team Rocket from stealing Pocket Monster episode, but it is also directly based on an actual thing you do in the games when you get here, catching a kid's Farfetch and getting the cut HM, so it can stay. However, I will make some changes. In the episode, they actually run into the shrine.
It's a shrine to the spirit that watches over this forest.
So they at least acknowledge that even if they're not going to do anything with it. So instead, the episode plays out as normal, and then at the very end, they return to the shrine. I don't know. Maybe the GS Ball reacted to being in close proximity with it. Either way, it leads the twerps back here where it finally opens on a cliffhanger ending. So starting the next episode, our heroes now have Celebi. So what do they do with it? I was pondering that myself, and then I thought of something. But for that, we're gonna have to make like the time traveler Celebi is and go forward in time all the way to the black and white anime. For you see, upon reading this Bulbapedia article on the GS Ball, they bring up in this section on the anime that the concept would be repurposed for the Mellow Edda arc during these seasons. Now, I'm not sure how accurate the statement is, but this does give us a base to work with, which means yes, I'm gonna have to watch some Best Wishes episodes. Mellow Edda first appeared in the 82nd episode of Best Wishes and Epic Defense Force. Now, the actual plot isn't too important, it's just a film festival, but in the middle of the episode, they establish that Team Rocket has been pursuing her. She runs into Ash, Ash saves her last minute, and then she starts following him. Yeah, this whole thing is very awkwardly placed in the episode and honestly tonally inconsistent with everything else in it, but that's not important. This was just set up. She follows Ash for 2 episodes until the episode All for the Love of Mellow Edda, where she reveals herself as ill, and Ash and Co. nurse her back to health, leading to it just hanging around for a few episodes and interacting with the other Pokemon. The stuff there is not important. We're focusing on how Team Rocket is integrated into this. Jessie and James have been tracking her down, leading to a confrontation that even gets Giovanni heavily involved in the plot, using Mellow Edda's song energy to summon 3 Unova legendaries and take over the region. This is the most basic overview, and just with that, there are several traits you can easily apply to Johto. The forces of nature here can easily be Entei, Raikou, and Suicune, and Meloetta is, of course, Celebi. Also, Giovanni being heavily involved in the plot much earlier in the series could be really cool to see, given that all we really got out of him was stuff with Mewtwo, and in that case, Ash and Ko didn't interact with him much. Obviously, we're gonna have to change the plot a bit, given they aren't the same Pokemon, but we'll do that as we go along. So now that Ash has Celebi, this causes quite a bit of attention from Team Rocket, who were following him and probably witnessed this shortly after their blast-off. This, of course, grabs their attention. A new, rare, and probably powerful Pokemon? That thing's gotta be valuable and perfect for the boss, Meowth most likely says. Then the twerps introduce Celebi to their current Pokemon. How Celebi acts with the other Pokemon will vary and be a bit different from the Meloetta episode, though this did kinda make me think about what elements were taken from this arc for that one. Because Meloetta definitely was enamored with Ash and was extra comfortable around him. If this was what Celebi's personality would have been, the idea of Chikorita just forming a rivalry with it would be pretty funny. Kinda like a one-sided version of the rivalry Oshawott and Piplup had for Meloetta's affection in that arc. IDK, I'm biased here, but that was the first thing I thought of. But back to Team Rocket. After a failed attempt to capture Celebi that leads to a blast-off, they decide to call Giovanni about the new discovery. Promising they'll capture it and bring it back to him, Giovanni is intrigued, as Celebi is indeed a rare and powerful Pokemon, but he knows he can't trust these three to not screw it up. Now, in the Meloetta arc, the Team Rocket trio is the one trailing Meloetta, but this was also during that weird era of the show where their personalities were more serious and, frankly, a lot more boring and generic, so their typical villain portrayals wouldn't fit here. But you know who does? Cassidy and Butch.
It's Butch not! Oh, that's what you said!
I don't feel like coming up with funny names for him today. He instructs them to start trailing the twerps in order to capture the Celebi and make sure those three clowns don't get in the way. They agree, so now we kinda got a two-way bounty for the Celebi going on. The following episodes leading up to the Goldenrod Gym have some similarities and differences to what happens in the show. A few episodes get sacrificed, saved for later, or rewritten slightly to fit Celebi into this. There are several episodes in their places that help establish Celebi's personality, and are used for Ash and Ko to learn more about it. Several events will remain the same though. Ash still captures Totodile in his lure ball he received from Kurt. He had already caught Chikorita and Cyndaquil up to this point, so I'm assuming him having all three starters was planned. Squirtle still goes back to the Squirtle squad, since if we were to assume this was the plan, him getting rid of the Kanto starters for them is too. And just for the heck of it, we'll still say Jessie accidentally traded her Lickitung for Wobbuffet cause it's just too damn iconic. Maybe the Wobbuffet episode contains some snark from Cassidy seeing how Jessie was able to pull off a stupid trade like that. Once we get to Goldenrod, the episodes go as normal. Ash meets Whitney, loses to her, and wins on a rematch. Main difference would be that Whitney probably fawns over how cute Celebi is since she seems like that kind of girl. Radio Tower episode probably goes as normal too, and I want to say something plot important with this arc happens here. See, Goldenrod is actually important in obtaining Celebi in the games. In the Japanese version of Crystal, the Pokemon Center was expanded to the Pokemon Communication Center, and it was meant to use a system called the Mobile System GB, where a Japanese Game Boy could be connected to a cell phone and send exclusive items to your game, and one of the items you could get is the GS Ball. Now, since Ash and Ko already have Celebi at this point, I feel that this is the point Butch and Cassidy reveal themselves to the twerps. They try to capture Celebi, fail, and in the midst of all this, spill out the hints of their grand plan. They don't know what it is, but they do know that the two escaped to Ecruteak City. That, and there being a gym there, of course, leads the twerps to start headed up there. Now, there's a bit of higher stakes being set up already, especially with the urgency of the knowledge of their master plan. They know they gotta get there, but they also know their plan involves Celebi, and they can't do much without it. I say this so there's still an excuse for there to be some breather plots between this. I also feel it's important to start ramping up stuff just a little, cause in the West, Goldenrod marks the beginning of Season 4, Johto League Champions, and with it comes a new title card, with GS Balls in the corner of the border. Since a chunk of this season will be focused on Celebi, this makes the new title card look even more fitting. Also, yes, I know this title card is dub only, but the parallel was just too good to pass up on. But yes, we do get some breather episodes. Not as much as the 21 episode gap, but still some smaller stuff like meeting up with Casey again at National Park for the bug catching contest, and Brock giving Vulpix back to Susie. Sadly, the Pseudo-Wudo episode has to stay due to its game location, but I do imagine the sense of urgency probably makes the episode play more into it being a roadblock like in the games. A few Johtomon Spotlight episodes also stay for good measure, but a few, like say the one that doesn't introduce a new Johtomon or features a returning Kanto one-off character, get axed because they're kinda disposable in general. Now in Ecruteak, the first 2 episodes there go just as the show. Ash gets there, meets Morty, learns about Ho-Oh, has a gym battle, but as these are going on, the Team Rocket plot is too. Giovanni flies to Ecruteak to set up his grand plan. There's some similarity to this and what happened in the Meloetta arc, in that he used Meloetta, a mythical, and the Storm Trio, 3 roaming legendaries, for ultimate power. And since Johto happens to have a mythical and 3 roamers too, it lays out well. His plan here will be to use Celebi to go back in time and stop the 3 legendary beasts, Entei, Raikou, and Suicune, from getting too powerful so he has less defense against his ultimate plan, to capture Ho-Oh in the past and take over Johto. He sets to make his base the Burnt Tower, the same place you find the trio in the games. This starts to come to head in the next episode. In the show, Ash and Ko meet Sakura, a kimono girl who desires to go out on the journey, and nearly ends up going along with Ash and Ko before deciding she's just not ready yet. And yes, I'm pronouncing her name Sakura unlike the super 4Kids way the show pronounces it.
Sakura!
Like the actual episode, there's this conflict of Sakura wanting to travel but her sister is not letting her. But the difference quickly comes forward when her sisters are attacked and captured by an army of Team Rocket grunts in order to get easier access to the Burnt Tower. Sakura, who had been studying the legendaries and mythicals, especially due to the town she lives in, gets a hunch of what's going on. The Twerps fight off the grunts and Sakura saves her sisters, causing them to grow more respect for her. However, Team Rocket still gets Celebi. Maybe Jesse and James come through with a wheezing smokescreen, maybe Butch and Cassidy swoop in and grab it in the chaos of the battle, who knows? What's mainly the result is Giovanni now being fully secure in the tower with Celebi. The Twerps now know there's not much time. They need to find the legendary beasts. How do they find them? Well, it'd be kind of unreasonable and hard to justify if they were roaming across the whole region, so we'll just say they hide from humans within the immediate area. And we'll have to catch them. And to do this, they'll need to use a lesser talked about element in this arc, the Apricorn Pokeballs. In going Apricorn, Ash and Ko get a couple of these special Pokeballs. Ash and Misty get Lure Balls that they later use to catch Totodile and Corsola respectively. Brock gets a Heavy Ball that he never uses. And the 3 of them get Fastballs that Brock only uses to catch Pineco in the same episode. I always found it weird that they spent a whole episode building up these special Pokeballs and giving them to the main characters just for a chunk of them to not get used. This part of the rewrite is where they come in. Sakura tells them to split up to try and catch the 3. Ash goes for Raikou, both it and Pikachu have an electrifying fight, and Ash nabs it in a fastball. Brock goes for Entei and uses his Heavy Ball, because it's the heaviest of the 3, and Misty either uses her Fastball or Lure Ball to catch Suicune. The Lure Ball makes sense in this case if it's rewritten to use the Fastball or a normal Pokeball on Corsola later, but the Fastball works here too. Obviously, these are temporary catches for this plot. Ash is not gonna waltz through the rest of the gyms with Raikou. He also probably temporarily boxed Bulbasaur for it since he has a team of 6 at this point. Also, since this feels like an elephant in the room, Yucine. He appears after this point in the episode for Ho-Oh the Bell's Toll and is super salty at Ash because he had seen Suicune prior. This is referring to either Pokemon Forever or the Suicune they saw in the first Johto episode, which is kind of weird I haven't brought this up yet. Obviously, Forever either doesn't happen or is completely different in this timeline. In this version, the episode still happens later, but this time, he's salty at the 3 for hanging out and saving the world with the beast he's been looking for and wishes he were there. I had the thought of putting him here, but we already got the Sakura thing going, so I felt it would make the plot too bloated. Back to this, with Celebi captured, Team Rocket uses the Burnt Tower as a base and, with their scientists, create a time machine that can only be powered by Celebi. Hey, they tried similar sciencey stuff with Mewtwo. Who's to say they wouldn't be crazy to try again? The Twerps capture the legendaries and make it back for the big climax. I'm thinking Giovanni successfully goes back in time, but Celebi's power is more strong than he anticipated, so it sends the Twerps and Cassidy and Butch and Jesse and James back too. And they're in a more ancient version of Ecruteak, something you'd see in a hypothetical Legends Arceus for Johto. Celebi is here too, and is super weak from all the energy it used. Team Rocket doesn't care, and are trying to summon the past legendary beast in some way, probably with Celebi. This leads to a big battle where the present beasts are involved. The past beasts eventually come in through all the chaos. Giovanni attempts to stop them, but the present beasts come in to protect them, all while Brock is in the background tending to Celebi's wounds. There is this sad moment that parallels Celebi's near death in Pokemon Forever, where it looks like all hope is lost. Giovanni's Persian then gives each of the beasts a hard Fury Swipes, causing them to scream out loud and bait what he was hoping for. Ho-Oh had sensed the commotion along with Celebi being hurt and is furious. Giovanni tried to control it, but its rage was too much, blowing them away. Ho-Oh is on a rampage, and Ash and Co need to stop him before its wrath destroys Ecruteak and messes up the timeline. With a mix of their Pokemon, the Beast, and Celebi finally being healed enough to talk to Ho-Oh, it calms down and everything is restored. After celebrating, Team Rocket comes back to get it, but Celebi sends them, along with the twerps, to the presents. With Celebi restored and the damage the Rocket's Pokemon took, they're forced to retreat and leave Jesse and James to get blasted off because that's something they did. Now with things calmed down, Celebi realizes it being with Ash and Co could lead to more danger, so they agree it should fly back to Ilex Forest and be its protector. Sakura decides to stay behind to help out her sisters, and the twerps head off for the next gym. Ash and Co also release the Beast to keep watch of the area. Everything else goes mostly the same. The gap between Ecruteak and Olivine is reduced given the episode this arc took up, with events like Chikorita's evolution happening there. Only other thing different is Misty later catching Corsola in a different ball, and the episodes where they go back to Ecruteak, later having references to this. And that's pretty much it. Not sure if this is too fanficky, but I tried to keep these ideas within the realms of stuff that could reasonably happen in the show. It's hard to say what really could have happened if Ash opened that damn ball, so I was going off the little info I have. Some might ask what becomes of Forever, and to be honest, I'm not sure. Maybe the Legend of Thunder special becomes its own movie, IDK. So thanks for watching. Feel free to comment how you think the show would change if Ash had opened the GS ball, and I'll see you next time.